The galaxy was a vast, dangerous place, filled with alien races of unimaginable power. The Galactic Council was the most powerful coalition of them all, a united front of species that controlled vast stretches of the universe. Earth, a relatively young planet, had been working tirelessly to forge alliances with these powerful beings, hoping for peace and prosperity in the starry expanse. For that purpose, they had sent diplomats, envoys, and negotiators, one of whom was a young human girl named Emma Carlyle. Emma was different from the others. She was intelligent, charismatic, and full of hope for a future where humans and alien races could coexist. She was sent on a mission to negotiate peace with the Galactic Council, a mission that would have cemented humanity's place among the stars. Her youth and potential symbolized Earth's desire for peace. But the hopes of millions came crashing down in the dead of night. Emma, the bright symbol of human diplomacy, was found dead in her quarters, the victim of a ruthless murder. The Galactic Council, always known for its power and manipulation, wasted no time in spinning the truth. They declared it an accident, an unfortunate mishap. But those who knew better understood that the truth was far more sinister. Emma had been murdered. The elite assassins of the Council, trained in stealth and deception, had used cloaking technology and advanced weaponry to ensure her death was swift and silent. They had left no trace, no evidence to suggest foul play. Emma's death sparked a firestorm back on Earth. The leaders of the planet were in shock, their worst fears realized. A young girl, sent as a diplomat for peace, had been murdered, and no one, not even the Galactic Council, seemed willing to provide answers. As the news of her death spread, the entire world fell into an abyss of grief and anger. People mourned her loss, but more than that, they burned with rage. A sense of betrayal coursed through the veins of humanity. For the first time, Earth felt powerless in the face of an alien threat. Amidst the chaos, one man stood in the shadows, silent but with a burning fury in his chest. Captain Alex Blaze. He was a genetically enhanced super soldier, Earth's last line of defense, a living weapon born from the most advanced military technologies. He had been trained for one purpose: to protect humanity. The camera zoomed in on his face as he sat in a darkened room, his eyes fixed on a holographic image of Emma's lifeless body. His jaw tightened, and his hands clenched into fists. Captain Blaze knew one thing: this act of murder would not go unanswered. As the leaders of Earth debated diplomatic measures and peaceful resolutions, Blaze knew that they were wasting time. He knew that peace was no longer an option, not after what had happened to Emma. His entire life had been dedicated to serving his people, and this attack on Earth's hopes could not stand. His training, his enhancements, his unyielding will, everything he had been turned into had led him to this moment. His mission was clear: infiltrate the Galactic Council's headquarters, expose the truth, and bring justice to the innocent life that had been stolen. The Council had to pay. But Blaze was no diplomat. He was a soldier. And in war, justice was often achieved through violence. With a single command, Captain Blaze was deployed. He boarded a state-of-the-art spacecraft, sleek and silent, designed for stealth and speed. As the ship lifted off from Earth's surface, Blaze couldn't shake the image of Emma's face from his mind. She had been so full of promise. She had wanted nothing more than peace between the races, and now her life had been extinguished by the very beings she had sought to negotiate with. The journey to the Galactic Council's homeworld would take days, but Blaze's mind never wandered. His resolve was ironclad. He would avenge Emma's death. The Council had made a fatal mistake by thinking they could kill a human without consequence, and now they would learn that humanity was not as helpless as they had believed. The mission ahead was dangerous. Blaze knew that he would face the highest security the galaxy had to offer: cloaking devices, robotic sentries, and alien guards. The Council's defenses were some of the most advanced in the universe. But none of that mattered to Blaze. He had trained for years in every combat style imaginable. He had fought alien beasts, rogue AI, and rebel armies. He was prepared for anything. As his ship approached the Council's homeworld, Blaze activated his cloaking device, making the spacecraft invisible to sensors and scanners. His heart raced, not from fear, but from anticipation. He had only one objective: justice. But there was more at stake than just avenging Emma's death. Blaze understood that the Council's actions were part of a greater scheme, one that could lead to the destruction of humanity. This mission wasn't just personal. It was the first step in a war that Earth might not be ready for. The ship entered the atmosphere, and Blaze touched down on a barren landscape far from the city center. His boots hit the ground with a soft thud. The air was thin and the temperature cold, but Blaze didn't notice. His focus was absolute. He was no longer on Earth. He was on alien soil, a place that was hostile to everything he stood for. But in this moment, Blaze was an unstoppable force, fueled by rage, and a sense of justice that would not be silenced. The Council had made a mistake. They had killed one of Earth's own, and now they would face the consequences. As Blaze moved silently through the alien terrain, the weight of the task ahead settled on his shoulders. But there was no fear, no hesitation, just a burning desire to right the wrong that had been done. Back on Earth, the leaders of the planet were still scrambling to find a peaceful resolution. But humanity knew that their future was in the hands of one man, Captain Alex Blaze. And as the camera zoomed out from his determined face, the audience felt the tension in the air. They knew that a storm was coming. The Galactic Council had made a fatal mistake, and Captain Blaze would be the one to ensure they paid for it. As Blaze neared the Council's headquarters, he could feel the stakes rising. This wasn't just about one girl. This was about the future of Earth itself. And the audience, now fully invested, could feel the weight of that mission. The tension was palpable, and there was no turning back now. Every moment was leading to an inevitable clash between two worlds, one that would change the course of the galaxy forever. Captain Alex Blaze's descent onto the alien planet was as silent as it was ominous. The sleek spacecraft glided through the atmosphere, its cloaking system rendering it invisible to any external detection. The mission ahead was deadly, but Blaze was prepared. He had trained his entire life for moments like this, where the fate of humanity hung by a thread, and it was up to him to ensure survival. The Galactic Council had made a mistake by killing Emma Carlyle, and Blaze would make sure they understood just how costly that mistake would be. As his ship touched down on the barren surface of the alien world, Blaze felt the weight of his mission settle in. Earth was relying on him. He was their last hope. Without his intervention, the murder of the young diplomat would remain unsolved, and the Council would continue their reign of fear and oppression over the galaxy. More importantly, Blaze knew that the Council's actions were just the beginning of a far greater threat to Earth. If he failed, humanity would have no future in this galaxy. With his feet firmly on alien soil, Blaze activated his advanced cloaking device, turning him invisible to the naked eye. He had been given the best technology available, and now it was time to use it. His super soldier enhancements gave him heightened senses, incredible strength, and reflexes faster than any normal human could hope for. But the true advantage was his mind. He could think faster, adapt more quickly, and process information at a speed that made him nearly unbeatable. Blaze moved through the desolate landscape with ease, staying in the shadows as he made his way toward the heart of the Council's domain. The alien planet was a place of beauty and danger, a cityscape unlike anything Blaze had ever seen. The buildings towered over him, made of materials that shimmered in the pale light of the planet's twin moons. The streets were alive with alien life, bustling with beings from across the galaxy. Floating platforms zipped through the air, and the distant hum of battle drones could be heard as they patrolled the skies, ever watchful for intruders. The city itself was a masterpiece of alien engineering, a testament to the Council's power and influence. Towers of gleaming metal and glass rose from the ground, while large sections of the city seemed to float in midair, supported by technologies far beyond Earth's understanding. It was a beautiful yet dangerous world, a place where everything was controlled, everything was watched, and nothing was left to chance. Blaze knew that every corner he turned could lead him straight into the path of danger. As he crept through the streets, he was constantly aware of the Council's watchful eyes. Their security systems were sophisticated, capable of detecting even the smallest anomaly. Blaze's cloaking device made him nearly invisible, but he still had to move with caution, using his enhanced senses to anticipate any potential threats. His every step was calculated, every move deliberate. He had no room for mistakes. The city seemed alive with movement, with beings from countless worlds coming and going, oblivious to the human soldier in their midst. Blaze couldn't help but feel the weight of the situation. He was an outsider in this strange world, and yet he was here to take on the might of the Galactic Council. A shiver ran down his spine, but it wasn't fear. It was the anticipation of what was to come. The deeper he moved into the city, the closer he got to the truth, and the closer he came to facing the forces that had murdered Emma Carlyle. Blaze knew that his mission was more than just revenge. Emma's death was a symbol of the Council's arrogance, of their belief that they could act without consequence. But there was a deeper conspiracy at play here, something far more dangerous than a single murder. Blaze had to uncover the truth before it was too late. Earth was vulnerable, and the Council was always looking for new ways to assert its dominance. Blaze's job was to ensure that the Council knew humanity would not go down without a fight. The first sign of trouble came as Blaze entered a narrow alleyway, the faint sound of footsteps echoing in the distance. He paused, listening intently. His enhanced hearing picked up the faint click of robotic footsteps. Something was coming his way. His heart rate quickened, but he remained calm. This was what he had been trained for. From around the corner, a squad of alien guards appeared, their mechanical eyes scanning the area. The guards were armed with plasma rifles and wore exoskeletons that made them faster and stronger than ordinary beings. Blaze knew that he couldn't fight them all at once. He needed to be strategic. He waited, his breathing slow and controlled, watching as the guards drew closer. With a flash of movement, Blaze activated his cloaking device once again, making himself invisible to the guards. They passed by without even noticing him, their eyes scanning the alleyway, but never lingering on the shadows where Blaze stood. His heart pounded in his chest, but his mind remained focused. This was just the beginning. The deeper he went into the city, the more dangerous it would get. Blaze continued to move through the city, his progress steady but cautious. The Council's headquarters loomed ahead, a towering fortress at the center of the alien capital. It was a structure of immense power, with layers of security designed to keep intruders out. But Blaze was no ordinary intruder. He was humanity's last hope, and he would not be stopped. As he neared the entrance to the Council's stronghold, Blaze paused to survey the area. The entrance was guarded by two massive battle drones, their weapons trained on anyone who dared approach. But Blaze wasn't afraid. He had dealt with drones before, and his combat skills were unmatched. He moved silently through the shadows, his mind calculating every move. The drones had a specific patrol pattern, and he knew that if he timed his movements perfectly, he could slip past them undetected. Blaze activated his targeting system, a high-tech eye-assisted device built into his suit. The system scanned the drones, analyzing their movements and weaknesses in real time. Blaze had only a few seconds to act. With a single motion, he launched a small EMP grenade, disabling the drones before they even knew what had happened. The drones fell to the ground, their circuits fried, and Blaze quickly moved past them, entering the heart of the Council's stronghold. Inside, the atmosphere was cold and sterile, a far cry from the bustling city outside. The walls were lined with advanced technologies, holographic interfaces, and security systems designed to keep intruders out. But Blaze was undeterred. His mission was clear: find out what really happened to Emma and bring those responsible to justice. But as he ventured deeper into the stronghold, Blaze couldn't shake the memory of the young girl. Her innocent smile, her hopeful words, all of it haunted him. He had to make the council pay for what they had done. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about ensuring that humanity's voice would be heard in the galaxy. No one could be allowed to silence them. As Blaze reached the inner chambers of the council's headquarters, he knew that the most dangerous part of the mission was just beginning. The guards would become more numerous, the security more sophisticated, and the council itself would do everything in its power to eliminate him. But Blaze wasn't afraid. He had been through worse, and no matter what, he would uncover the truth. The fight for Earth's future was only just beginning. Captain Blaze's journey through the heart of the council's stronghold had been dangerous, but it was about to get more complicated. The deeper he ventured, the more he realized that the simple mission to uncover the truth behind Emma's death had transformed into something far bigger, something that could threaten the future of humanity itself. He was not alone in his fight, though, and soon he would meet someone who would change everything. It started when Blaze discovered an underground resistance movement. The Council's tight grip on the galaxy had left many people, even from within their own ranks, disillusioned and desperate for change. This is where he met Lyra, a former high-ranking member of the Council's inner circle. She was beautiful, yet her eyes carried a sadness, a burden she had long since given up trying to hide. Lyra had defected after witnessing the Council's true intentions. She had been a trusted advisor, but as she climbed the ranks, she discovered a secret plan that chilled her to the core. The murder of Emma Carlyle, Blaze's tragic reason for being here, wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate act of aggression, meant to send a message. Humans, in the eyes of a powerful faction within the Galactic Council, were seen as weak, inferior creatures. Expendable. The murder was part of a larger strategy to show that the Council would do whatever it took to maintain control. And in their eyes, humanity was nothing more than a growing threat that had to be eliminated. Blaze listened to Lyra's story with a mix of disbelief and fury. The depth of the conspiracy was staggering. The death of Emma had been no isolated incident. It was a symbol of the Council's arrogance, their belief that they could act with impunity and without fear of reprisal. The Council's ultimate goal, Lyra explained, was to wipe out humanity completely, and they would stop at nothing to do so. "I've seen their plans," Lyra said, her voice filled with regret. "They have weapons, technology far beyond anything Earth can imagine. Their warships are preparing for an invasion. And if we don't act soon, it will be too late." Blaze felt a rush of anger. His fists clenched tightly as he tried to suppress the growing storm inside him. He had come here for revenge, yes, but now he understood the full scope of what was at stake. This wasn't just about Emma. This was about saving humanity itself from extinction, and if he was going to stop the Council, he would need more than just his skills as a soldier. He would need allies. At first, Blaze was reluctant to trust Lyra. She had once been one of them, a part of the Council's elite, and he couldn't forget that. His anger was raw, and his mission was clear. He was here to avenge Emma, to punish those responsible for her death. But as the hours passed, and as Blaze and Lyra worked together to fight their way past Council forces, something started to shift. Blaze saw her not just as an ally, but as a human being, someone who had been forced into a corner by the very system she had once served. The first real test of their partnership came when they were ambushed by a group of elite Council soldiers. The area around them was dark, filled with towering structures and looming shadows. Blaze knew they were being watched. It was only a matter of time before the enemy would strike. As if on cue, a group of Council soldiers emerged from the darkness, their weapons aimed directly at the two of them. Blaze's first instinct was to fight, but Lyra held her hand up, stopping him. "We don't have to fight them all," she whispered. "I know a way out." She led them through a series of secret tunnels beneath the city, narrow passages hidden from the prying eyes of the Council's surveillance. Blaze had to trust her. His instincts screamed at him to fight, to take down every soldier who stood in his way. But Lyra's calmness, her ability to navigate the treacherous maze of the Council's defenses, gave him hope. As they moved deeper into the Resistance hideout, Blaze began to see Lyra not just as a traitor, but as someone who was truly fighting for what was right. Her motivations were clear. She had once believed in the Council's cause, but over time, she had seen their true nature. The murder of innocent lives, the oppression of countless worlds, and now the looming threat of humanity's extinction. These were things she couldn't ignore. She had defected, taking with her critical information that could change the course of the galaxy. "What's your plan?" Blaze asked, his voice low. "We need to hit them where it hurts," Lyra replied, her gaze hardening. "The Council's leadership is vulnerable. They're not as united as they seem. We can exploit their weaknesses, but we need a full-scale attack, and we need to act fast." Blaze's mind raced as he processed the new information. A full-scale attack on the Council's leadership. It sounded impossible. The Council was too powerful, its reach too far. But Lyra's words rang in his ears. She had been inside the heart of their empire. She knew their weaknesses. Their alliance, born out of necessity, now felt like the only chance humanity had. Blaze could no longer afford to trust only in his own strength. He needed Lyra, and together they began to form a plan. They would gather a resistance army, infiltrate the heart of the Council's command, and take down its leaders. It wouldn't be easy. The odds were stacked against them, but Blaze wasn't about to let that stop him. As they moved through the Resistance's base, Blaze learned more about the people who had joined the fight against the Council. They were ordinary citizens, soldiers, and defectors. People who had all seen the darkness of the Council and refused to stand by while others suffered. Blaze had always believed that humanity was strong, but seeing the determination in their eyes made him realize just how much potential there was within his species. If Earth could stand united, if humanity could fight together, they just might have a chance. The emotional connection between Blaze and Lyra began to deepen. It wasn't just the shared goal of defeating the Council that drew them together. It was the understanding of what was at stake. Blaze had lost everything. Lyra had lost her place in the world she had once known. But now, they had something else. A chance to fight back. The plan to take down the Council's leadership was set into motion. Blaze and Lyra would work together to gather support from the galaxy's various resistance movements. They would unite people from across the galaxy who shared a common goal: to bring down the tyrannical rule of the Galactic Council and protect the future of humanity. Their bond grew stronger with every passing moment, each victory, no matter how small, fueling their resolve. They were no longer just allies. They were partners in a rebellion that would change the galaxy forever. Blaze couldn't help but think of Emma. Her death had ignited this rebellion, but it had also reminded him of something important. Humanity wasn't weak. It wasn't expendable. It was strong, and it would fight with everything it had. The Council would soon learn that. The rebellion was just beginning, and Blaze knew that the hardest part was still ahead. But for the first time since he had landed on this alien world, he felt a glimmer of hope. They might just be able to win this war. The countdown had begun. Blaze and Lyra stood at the edge of the Galactic Council's heavily fortified citadel. The structure before them was a masterpiece of alien engineering, towering over the landscape like a monolithic giant. This was where it would all end. The battle for humanity's survival, the fight for justice, and the final confrontation with the Grand Chancellor, Vornak. Blaze knew that getting in would be the easy part. The real challenge lay in taking down the Council's most powerful leader. They approached the citadel under the cover of darkness, their cloaking devices masking their presence. Blaze could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins. The mission was personal now. It wasn't just about Emma's death. It was about ensuring that the future of humanity wasn't crushed under the Council's heel. This was a war they had to win, or Earth would cease to exist as it was. But as they crossed the threshold into the citadel, the weight of what lay ahead hit him hard. The tension in the air was palpable, and Blaze couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. His instincts, honed through years of battle, told him that the Council had been expecting them. They had known they would come for Vornak. Suddenly, the silence shattered as an alarm blared across the facility. The Citadel's walls seemed to pulse with life as hidden turrets activated, and the ground shook with the sound of mechanical footsteps. The battle had begun. Out of the shadows emerged a wave of robots, their sleek metallic bodies gleaming in the dim light. Cloaking drones buzzed through the air, their weapons trained on Blaze and Lyra. Alien soldiers, each more terrifying than the last, emerged from hidden doors, armed with weapons that radiated deadly energy. The Council had spared no expense in preparing for this moment. They were ready for war. Blaze's heart raced, but he didn't hesitate. His enhanced muscles rippled beneath his armor as he sprang into action, charging headfirst into the fray. His first move was instinctive. He hurled a plasma grenade toward the nearest group of soldiers, sending them scattering in every direction as the explosion rocked the citadel. The force of the blast sent a shockwave through the metal walls. But Blaze didn't stop. His tactical mind was already calculating the next move. Lyra, her agility and combat skills on full display, darted through the chaos with precision. She was a force to be reckoned with. Together, they made a formidable team, dodging laser fire, taking down robots with swift strikes, and clearing their path through the heavily fortified citadel. But the deeper they got, the stronger the resistance became. More robots, more soldiers, and more drones emerged, each one more deadly than the last. The stakes were growing higher with each passing second. Blaze's enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge incoming fire, his movements almost a blur as he took out enemies with pinpoint accuracy. Lyra wasn't far behind, using her knowledge of the Citadel's layout to create diversions and disrupt the Council's forces. She was a shadow in the night, slipping through the chaos with ease. But Blaze wasn't invincible. The sheer number of enemies was overwhelming. At one point, a heavy-duty robot, its arms equipped with razor-sharp blades, charged at him. Blaze barely managed to evade its first strike, but the second hit sent him sprawling across the floor. Pain shot through his body, and for a moment, he felt the weight of his exhaustion. His body ached, bruised and battered from the relentless fighting. But he wasn't about to give up. Not now, not after everything they had fought for. With a grunt, Blaze pushed himself off the ground, his rage fueling his every movement. He activated his combat enhancements, the nanotech in his body working overtime to heal his injuries. The pain dulled as his strength surged. He could feel the power coursing through him, and with it came a renewed sense of purpose. He had come too far to let anything stand in his way. Just as Blaze was about to charge back into the battle, he heard Lyra's voice over the comms. "We've got incoming. This isn't going to be easy." He nodded, not needing to say anything in response. They were in this together, and together, they would see it through. The battle intensified as they neared the heart of the citadel. The walls seemed to close in on them, and the air was thick with the sound of explosions and the crackle of energy weapons. Earth's forces had been preparing for a last-ditch effort to assist them, but their arrival was still a few moments away. For now, Blaze and Lyra had to rely on their own abilities. Blaze's mind raced as he fought. Every movement was calculated. Every strike was a potential game-changer. He could see it all unfolding in his mind. Each enemy's next move, the perfect angle for an attack. His enhanced reflexes made him nearly unstoppable. His fists slammed into robots, shattering their metallic exteriors with ease. He could hear the screech of metal as a massive alien warship exploded outside the Citadel's walls. Earth's forces were here, and they weren't about to let Blaze face this alone. The visuals of the battle were breathtaking. Explosions rocked the Citadel's outer walls, sending debris flying through the air. Drones collided with the alien warships, creating a dazzling display of light and fire. But Blaze didn't have time to admire the spectacle. His focus remained on the mission, to get to Vornak and take him down. But the closer they got to the Grand Chancellor, the stronger the Council's resistance became. They were met with waves of soldiers, all wielding advanced energy weapons that seemed to tear through the air like lightning. The heat of the battle was intense, and Blaze could feel the pressure mounting with every step. He was pushed to his limits. His body screamed for rest, but Blaze refused to slow down. He had no choice. The future of Earth, and of every living human, was at stake. Every move he made now could mean the difference between life and death. As Blaze and Lyra neared the inner sanctum of the Citadel, they encountered a final line of defense, a massive energy barrier that blocked their way. The barrier shimmered, its power field pulsating as it hummed with energy. This was it, the final obstacle before they could face Vornak. Blaze's mind raced. He could hear Lyra's voice in his ear, urging him to find a way through. The clock was ticking. Earth's forces were closing in on their position, but the battle was far from over. The barrier was nearly impenetrable, but Blaze's tactical brilliance would see them through. He quickly analyzed the structure, his mind working at lightning speed. Then, with a final push, he activated a device he had been carrying, a high-powered EMP grenade. The explosion was deafening, and for a moment, the world seemed to freeze. When the smoke cleared, the energy barrier was down. The path to Vornak was clear. Blaze's heart raced as he and Lyra rushed forward. They had made it this far. But now, the real battle awaited. The confrontation with Vornak would determine the fate of humanity. And Blaze wasn't about to lose. As the heavy doors to the inner sanctum opened, Blaze stepped forward, ready to face the final challenge. The battle for justice was far from over, but with every step, he grew more determined to see it through. This was humanity's last hope, and Blaze was ready to give everything for it. Blaze and Lyra stood at the entrance of the chamber. This was it, the heart of the Citadel, the place where everything would come to an end. Inside, the grand chamber loomed, its walls lined with advanced technology and alien symbols that flickered ominously in the dim light. And there, standing in the center of it all, was the man responsible for the death of Emma, the destruction of countless lives, and the threat to humanity's very existence. Vornak, the Grand Chancellor of the Galactic Council. Blaze could feel the tension in the air, thick with the weight of what was to come. He had fought his way through this citadel, battling wave after wave of enemies, all for this moment. He had come here to face Vornak, to bring an end to the Council's tyranny, and to ensure that Earth would no longer be seen as weak. But now that he was here, facing the man who was responsible for everything, the gravity of the situation hit him like a ton of bricks. Vornak was a towering figure, his alien features sharp and cold, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling intensity. His expression betrayed nothing, showing no remorse for the countless lives he had destroyed. He stood tall, radiating a terrifying sense of power and control. His voice echoed through the chamber as he addressed Blaze and Lyra, his tone calm, almost mocking. "You think you've won," Vornak sneered. "You think you can stop me? You're nothing more than an insect, a fleeting moment in the vastness of the galaxy. And Earth is a threat that must be eradicated. I have the power to wipe your planet off the face of existence, along with every other weak race that dares to oppose the Council." Blaze clenched his fists, the anger boiling inside him. "You're wrong, Vornak," he said through gritted teeth. "You don't understand the power of humanity. You don't understand what we're capable of." Vornak's cold laugh filled the chamber. "You're delusional. Humanity is nothing but a passing storm. I will destroy you all, and once I do, the galaxy will know true order. The super weapon I've constructed will obliterate Earth, and no one will be left to oppose the Council." Blaze's heart raced. He had heard rumors of such a weapon, but hearing Vornak confirm it was like a punch to the gut. The fate of Earth, and possibly the entire galaxy, rested on his shoulders. His mind raced as he tried to think of a way to stop it. Suddenly, the floor beneath them trembled, and a massive screen flickered to life. A holographic display appeared, showing the superweapon in all its terrifying glory. It was enormous, a weapon that could vaporize entire planets with a single shot. Blaze could see Earth in the background, the blue planet hanging in space like a fragile orb, vulnerable to the destruction that was coming. His blood ran cold. Blaze's voice was filled with determination. "I won't let you do this, Vornak. I will stop you." Vornak's eyes narrowed, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. He motioned toward the weapon, and the ground began to shake as machinery activated. The weapon was ready. The countdown had begun. Without wasting another moment, Blaze lunged forward, charging at Vornak with everything he had. But Vornak was prepared. With a flick of his wrist, he activated a shield that repelled Blaze's attack, sending him flying backward. Blaze crashed into the wall, the impact knocking the wind out of him. He struggled to his feet, shaking off the pain. This wasn't over. Lyra was by his side in an instant. "Blaze, we can't fight him directly. We need to destroy the weapon. That's the only way to stop him." Blaze nodded, determination burning in his chest. They had to act fast. He glanced around, searching for a way to disable the superweapon. The room was filled with high-tech machinery, glowing panels and wires that hummed with energy. It wasn't going to be easy, but Blaze had faced impossible odds before. This time, it would be no different. As they moved toward the weapon, they were met with another wave of Council soldiers who had been waiting for this moment. The chamber erupted into chaos as Blaze and Lyra fought side by side, taking down the soldiers with precise, calculated strikes. Blaze's strength was overwhelming, and Lyra's agility made her a blur of motion as she took out enemies left and right. But as they neared the superweapon, they were confronted by Vornak himself. He stood in their way, his eyes glowing with an unnatural light. "You think you can stop me?" he said, his voice low and dangerous. "You are nothing. You have no idea what you're up against." Blaze gritted his teeth. "I know exactly what I'm up against, and I won't stop until Earth is safe." The battle between Blaze and Vornak was unlike anything Blaze had ever faced. Vornak was a master of advanced combat techniques, and his use of technology was as deadly as it was precise. He unleashed a barrage of energy blasts that Blaze narrowly dodged, using his superhuman agility to stay one step ahead. But Vornak wasn't going to make it easy. The two clashed in a storm of fists, energy blasts, and advanced technology. Blaze fought with everything he had. His enhanced strength allowed him to withstand blows that would have shattered a normal man, and his tactical mind helped him find openings in Vornak's defense. But Vornak was relentless, his attacks unyielding. Blaze's body was pushed to its limits, but he never backed down. Every punch, every move, every action was driven by the thought of Earth, of the people who were counting on him. He couldn't afford to lose. In a moment of desperation, Lyra saw an opportunity. She knew what had to be done. "Blaze, I'll distract him. You take out the weapon." Blaze turned to her, panic in his eyes. "No, Lyra, I won't let you." But Lyra was already moving, charging toward Vornak, drawing his attention away from Blaze. In that moment, Blaze knew what she was doing. She was sacrificing herself to give him a chance to destroy the weapon. He couldn't let her death be in vain. He had to finish this. With a final desperate surge of energy, Blaze sprinted toward the superweapon, using every ounce of strength to reach it before it was too late. He planted explosives around the weapon's core, his hands trembling as he worked quickly. The timer was counting down, seconds slipping away like grains of sand. He glanced over his shoulder, seeing Lyra struggling to hold her own against Vornak. His heart ached, but there was no time to waste. The weapon had to go. Blaze hit the detonator just as Vornak turned to stop him. The explosion was deafening, shaking the citadel to its core. The superweapon erupted in a burst of fiery light, its destructive power snuffed out in an instant. Vornak's final scream was lost in the chaos as the citadel began to collapse. Blaze turned to Lyra, his heart in his throat, but it was too late. She had given everything, her life taken in the final moments of the battle. As the citadel crumbled around him, Blaze stood tall, his body battered and broken, but his resolve stronger than ever. He had done it. He had avenged Emma's death, stopped the Council's superweapon, and ensured that humanity would never again be seen as weak. But in the process, he had lost a friend, someone who had fought beside him to the very end. Blaze looked up at the stars, his thoughts with Lyra and the sacrifice she had made. She had given her life for this victory, and he would carry that burden with him for the rest of his days. But he had done what needed to be done. Earth was safe. Humanity had proven its strength. And Blaze had become the hero he had always been destined to be. The battle had ended, but the consequences of it were far from over. The once mighty Galactic Council, the entity that had controlled and oppressed countless civilizations across the galaxy, was no more. Their power, once thought unshakable, had crumbled in the face of humanity's resolve. The Citadel, once a symbol of the Council's strength, lay in ruins, its shattered remains scattered across the stars. Blaze had succeeded. Earth was no longer a target, no longer seen as weak. But the victory had come at a heavy cost, and the scars of war would take time to heal. Blaze stood at the command center, staring at the holographic display of the galaxy. It was a beautiful sight, one he had once viewed with awe. Now, it felt different. The stars no longer seemed distant and unreachable. They felt closer, more real, more alive than ever before. Blaze had been through hell to get to this point, and as he gazed at the map of the galaxy, he knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had made its mark, and now, the universe would have to reckon with them. But the toll of the battle was not easy to ignore. Blaze's mind drifted back to the events that had transpired. Lyra's sacrifice, the brutal confrontations, and the countless lives lost along the way. The faces of the fallen haunted him. He had fought for justice, for the people he loved, but the victory had come at a heavy cost. Lyra's face flashed in his mind once again. Her courage, her strength, her selflessness, it had all led to this moment. And now she was gone. The galaxy was free, but she had paid the ultimate price. Blaze knew that he would carry the weight of her sacrifice for the rest of his life. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Humanity had defeated the Galactic Council, and the people of Earth were no longer seen as the underdogs. The world was in shock, struggling to comprehend the events that had transpired. No one could believe the magnitude of the victory. Governments around the world were in turmoil, trying to process the impact of what had happened. But amidst the confusion and the chaos, there was hope. For the first time in centuries, humanity felt united. It was a new dawn for Earth, a time of renewal, a time to rebuild, a time to reclaim what had been lost. Blaze had returned to Earth, but not as the man he once was. The battles had changed him, and he carried the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders. He had always been a soldier, a protector, but now he was something more. A symbol of humanity's strength and resilience. He had faced the greatest evil the galaxy had known and had come out victorious. Yet the victory felt bittersweet. The cost had been too high, and Blaze couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. As he walked through the streets of the capital city, he could see the changes in the people around him. There was a new sense of purpose in the air. People who had once been afraid to look up at the stars now stood tall, no longer fearful of the unknown. Earth had been tested, and they had proven that they were not a race to be underestimated. Blaze's actions had inspired a wave of hope that spread across the world. The people of Earth now understood that they were not just survivors, they were warriors. They had the strength to stand up for themselves, to protect their world, and to fight for a better future. But despite the celebrations, Blaze knew that the work wasn't over. The destruction of the Galactic Council had brought chaos to the galaxy. In the wake of their fall, power struggles erupted across the stars. New factions rose, some seeking to fill the void left by the Council's collapse, while others sought to create a new order. The galaxy was a fragile place, and the peace that humanity had fought so hard for was far from guaranteed. Blaze knew that Earth would have to remain vigilant. There were still threats out there, still forces that sought to disrupt the fragile peace. But for the first time in history, humanity was not powerless. They had proven their worth, and Blaze was determined to ensure that Earth's place in the galaxy would never again be in question. The legacy of this victory would live on, and Blaze would do everything in his power to protect that future. As the days passed, Blaze took up his new role as a leader, helping to rebuild the shattered Earth and restore order to the galaxy. The war had left deep scars, but there was a renewed sense of purpose among the people. The war had changed everything. Earth was no longer a quiet, isolated planet. It had become a force to be reckoned with. Blaze worked tirelessly, leading efforts to strengthen Earth's defenses, forging new alliances with other civilizations, and ensuring that humanity's newfound strength would not be squandered. In the midst of all this, Blaze never forgot the people he had lost along the way. Lyra's sacrifice weighed heavily on him, and he often found himself staring out at the stars, lost in thought. She had given everything for this victory, and Blaze would make sure that her sacrifice was not in vain. He would honor her memory by ensuring that Earth would thrive, by making sure that humanity's place in the galaxy would never again be threatened. He knew that the galaxy was vast, and there would always be challenges ahead. But now, humanity was ready. As the months passed, Blaze's efforts began to pay off. Earth's position in the galaxy grew stronger with each passing day. The once weak planet was now a respected member of the galactic community. Other races, who had once looked down on humanity, now sought alliances with Earth. They had seen what humanity was capable of, and they knew that Earth was not to be underestimated. Blaze stood on the balcony of the new Earth Command Center, overlooking the bustling city below. The lights of the city twinkled like stars, and for the first time in a long while, Blaze felt a sense of peace. The battle was over, the war had been won, and humanity had proven itself to the galaxy. It was a victory that had come at a high cost, but it was a victory nonetheless. Blaze knew that this was just the beginning, that there would be new challenges ahead. But for now, he allowed himself a moment to breathe. The final shot of Blaze, looking out over Earth from space, captured the essence of what had been achieved. The once fragile planet was now a beacon of hope, a symbol of humanity's resilience and strength. It was a new dawn for Earth, and Blaze knew that the future was bright. The good had triumphed over evil, and humanity had earned its place among the stars. As the credits rolled, Blaze's face remained on the screen, a symbol of everything humanity had fought for. The galaxy had changed, and so had Earth. No longer was Earth just a small, insignificant planet. It had become a force to be reckoned with, and Blaze was the hero who had led them to that victory. His actions had inspired a new era of unity, not just for Earth, but for all those who had suffered under the Council's reign. And as the final image of Blaze looking out at the stars faded from the screen, one thing was clear: humanity's place in the galaxy was now secure.